You spent years in corporate, you were the expert, you knew the industry inside and out, so you left and went out on your own. And for a while, it felt like it was working. Then the clients slowed down and you didn't know how to replace them. You hired someone and realized you had no idea how to onboard them. Got them to the end of the quarter and couldn't answer your accountant's questions. And on a Sunday evening, it hit you. You hadn't escaped the job, you'd created a hard one with no sick pay. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I've been wanting to do this episode after conversations with friends and people online. I know about leaving a job and starting for yourself. I talk a lot to people who've made that leap from corporate, really talented people. And time again, I see the same pattern. They leave a big organization, usually because they're frustrated, or they can see a better way, or they just want to build something for themselves. And then they hit a wall they didn't see coming. And I want to be clear about something before we get into this. This is not an episode about putting you off, far from it. It's about you thinking about making the move. I'm not here to scare you. I've been in business a long time in the corporate and in my own business. I love working for myself. I wouldn't swap it. But I do think an honest conversation needs to be had about it, because too many people make a leap with a brilliant CV, deep industry knowledge, and absolutely no preparation of what it's like running a business day to day. So let me ask you something before we go any further. When you made the decision to go it on your own, or you're thinking about it right now, what was the things that you were most worried about? I bet it might be sales. I bet it could be cash flow. I bet it could be onboarding your first hire. I bet it was something like that. Will I be good enough? It could be. Will clients trust me without the brand behind me, the big corporate? Will I be able to deliver at the same level? And here's what I find fascinating. The first thing most people worry about, the quality of work, is almost never the thing that trips them up, because you're good at what you do. That bit you've already covered. It's everything else: sales, cash flow, onboarding. And this is what the episode is going to be about. Quick question. When you left, or you're planning to leave, did you sit down and actually do the maths on what your day rate needs to be? Not what sounds impressive, what actually you need to survive and thrive. Most people don't, and I completely understand why, because the headline number looks great. You leave the job, you're on, let's say, I don't know, 90,000. You work out your day rate 5 days a week, 48 weeks a year, and that's roughly £375 a day. You think, I'll charge 600, 800, maybe £1,000 a day. I'm going to make so much more. On paper, that is true. But here's what nobody's telling you. That salary you have behind you was doing a lot of the work for you. Your employer was paying your national insurance contributions. There was a pension, holiday pay, sick pay, the laptop on your desk, the phone on your account, the office you sat in, the coffee machine you use many times a day. And all that disappears on day one. And now you've got a day rate that sounds impressive, but you're not billing 5 days a week. You're billing 3, maybe 3.5, because you're spending most of your time on admin, business development, proposals, chasing invoices, on everything that running a business actually involves. So your £800 a day is actually delivering you less than your old salary when we really do the maths. That's the day rate delusion, and most people don't spot it until many months in. Has this happened to you? Things are going well, you're busy, you're billing, and then suddenly it stops. And you look up and realize you have nothing coming in behind you and what you're actually working on right now. This is the feast and famine cycle, and it's one of the most common and most stressful realities of going on your own from a corporate background. You go out on your own, your old networks comes through, 2 or 3 clients arrive in the first couple of months. You're busy, you're billing, you're thinking, this is working. Then you finish those products projects and you realize you've been so heads down working on what you need to do, the single thing you haven't thought about is where the next piece of work is coming. Because in corporate, the phone rang, leads came through because of the corporate brand. Somebody else was doing the business development and you just showed up and delivered. Out on your own, nobody's doing that for you. And if you stop, it stops. The way out of this is your pipeline discipline. We're going to come back to this in the next section, but I want you to sit down and just think about that question. Right now, if your current clients finish tomorrow, what would you do? If you don't have a clear answer, that's where we need to start. When did you last have a client completely come from scratch? Not through a referral, not through a contact you've already known, but genuinely cold. Someone who's never heard of you, who you had to find, approach, and convert. For most people coming out of corporate, the honest answer is never, or at least not in a way a small business owner has to do week in, week out. And I think that's the thing that catches most people off guard, because you might have you're brilliant at client relationships in your old role. You might have managed accounts worth millions, but the leads were already there. The brand opened the door. Somebody else had already established the relationship before you walked in.
Imagine this: you have a great business, strong results, and a message worth sharing, but most people outside your network still have no idea who you are. Growth slows when visibility stops. Podcast guesting solves that. Instead of chasing leads or interrupting people with ads, you speak directly to audiences who are already interested in your topic. They share your story, your approach, and your value you deliver. Trust is built before the first conversation. At Podcast Introduction, we help business owners get booked on the right shows. We research targeted podcasts, pitch you on your behalf, and position you as the expert, so every interview becomes a growth asset that drives leads and authority. If you want more visibility, more credibility, and more conversations with the right clients, podcast guesting is a powerful lever for you. Visit podcastintroduction.com and start expanding your reach today.
Tim, out on your own, you are the brand, and there is no door that was already opened for you. So let me ask you, was there an actual plan for finding clients right now? Not in theory, but in practice. What are you doing this week to bring in business? And I ask that not to make you feel uncomfortable. I ask it because most people, when they really think about it, don't have a clear answer. And that's not a character flaw. It's a gap that needs to be closed, because selling feels uncomfortable for a lot of people from corporate backgrounds. It feels pushy. It feels like something you shouldn't have to do if you're good enough. I hear it all the time. And here's the reality. Being brilliant at your craft is not a marketing strategy. I see this constantly. People posting on LinkedIn once a week thinking that's their pipeline. People going to a network event once a month and wondering why they're not growing. People relying on referrals from their old contacts, which work for a while, but they can dry up. So what actually works? First, get clear on who your business is for. Not the companies that I do, specifically what size, what sector, what problem. The more specific you are, the easier things get. Your messaging gets sharper, your outreach gets better, your conversions and your conversations get faster. Second, your network is not your pipeline. I know this sounds harsh, but your network is full of people who like you and will cheerfully refer you when someone asks. This is not the same as having a proactive sales process. You need both. Third, content is visibility, not sales. LinkedIn content will get you seen. It will build authority over the time. It is not a replacement for direct outreach, for conversations, for actually asking people to work with. The businesses that grow past the early stage are the ones that have built a repeatable system for finding and closing clients. Not a plan, a system, something that runs every week, whether you like it or not. That's the shift. Look, if you're enjoying this episode, please do consider taking 30 seconds right now. Hit the 5 stars on Spotify or Apple. It only takes 20 seconds and it genuinely helps the show reach more people like you. Have you ever tried hiring someone that had no idea what to do with once they arrived? No structured induction, no documented process, just here's your login, follow me around a bit, you'll pick it up. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. This is one of the most common challenges I see with founders when coming from corporate. And the irony is often comes from organizations where HR and onboarding were genuinely sophisticated. They've been through great inductions themselves. They've just never had to build one. Because in a big organization, hiring is a process. HR does the screening. That's the structured interview. There's an induction program. There's a buddy system. There's a probation review. In your business, you write a job at, 10 p.m. and you get 200 applicants. You interview 6 people, probably not very consistently. You pick one who felt right in the room, and then 3 months later, it's not working. So ask yourself this: what does your hiring process actually look like right now? Do you have a consistent way of evaluating candidates, or are you going on gut feel every time? Here's what I've learned and what I've seen from talking to hundreds of business owners on this show. Hire for attitude first. Skills can be taught, work ethic can't. Cultural fit in a 5-person team matters more than it does in a 500-person organization, because one person wrong poisons everything. And the onboarding program is the problem. It's just that big. If someone joined your business tomorrow, a good person, motivated, wanting to do a great job, could they actually get up to speed without you holding their hand for 6 weeks? Do you have a documented process for how the work is done? Do you have standards written down anywhere? For most small business owners that come out of corporate, the answer is no, because everything lives in the founder's head. And that means every new hire starts from zero. Every time someone leaves, the knowledge walks out with them. And retention, keeping good people, that's its own challenge. Small business owners can't always compete on salary, but people don't only stay for money. They stay because they feel like they're progressing. They stay because the culture is good. They stay because you're honest with them and about where the business is going. They stay because they feel valued. The businesses that keep people create an environment deliberately. It doesn't happen by accident. Hand on heart, do you actually understand your profit and loss statement? Not in a general sense, specifically right now. Do you know what your gross margin is? Do you know what the costs you need to deliver for each client? Do you know what's left at the end of every month after everything goes out? I ask that not to catch anyone out here. I ask it because I've seen it at every level. You can be a very senior person who has signed $1 million budgets in corporate environments and completely and genuinely do not understand P&L. And here's why. In corporate, finance is something that happens around you. There's people who do this as their job. There are systems, there are reports, you get presented information and you make decisions based on that. In your business, you are often the finance department, and it's not paying attention will run the business off the cliff, this is one of the most dangerous things you can do. Cash in the bank is not profit. Let me say that again. Cash in the bank is not profit. You might have a healthy bank balance right now because 3 clients paid last month, but you've got VAT due in 6 weeks, you've got payroll at the end of the month, and you've got a tax bill coming that your accountant hasn't told you about yet, because they file once a year and you haven't had that conversation in 4 months. When did you do your last proper conversation with your accountant? Not to sign something off, an actual conversation about how the business is performing, where are the gaps and what's coming. If the answer is I can't remember, that's worth fixing now. This is the numbers reality for small business owners that have come out of corporate, not incompetence, just a system that's never been built. So what do you actually need to do? You need to know your numbers monthly, not annually. Monthly, revenue, cost of sale, gross profit, overheads, and net profit. Where are you now versus last month? Where is your versus plan? You need cash flow forecasts, not complicated, just what's coming in, what's going out over the next 90 days, so that you're never surprised. And you need an accountant who talks to you more than once a year. If your accountant only contacts you when the accounts are due, get a better accountant. That's it on the numbers. Nothing complicated, but most people don't do this. Where are you with AI right now? Be honest. Are you actively using it in your business, or are you in the I keep meaning to do it sort of person? Because I hear both extremes constantly. People who think AI is going to transform everything and don't know where to start. And people who have tried it once, got a generic answer, decided it wasn't for them, and gone back to everything manually. Both of these positions are going to cost you. More questions for you. Here's a very useful one. What did you do this week that took you longer than it should have? What tasks sat on your to-do list because you didn't have the bandwidth to do it? Because this specific thing is probably something AI could help you with. Not fix it, not necessarily take it over, but help. Get you started, give you a first draft, do the research, structure the thinking. Here's the honest reality of AI for small business owners in 2026. It's not magic. It's not going to run your business for you, but used well in the right places, it can genuinely save you hours every week. And when you're on a small team, hours matter enormously. Think about where your time actually goes: writing proposal, responding to emails, creating content, doing research, summarizing things, document drafting, preparations for meetings. Every single one of these, AI can help you. Importantly, they're not going to replace you, but help. You still need the judgment, the relationships, and the decisions. But the first draft, the research, the formatting, the structure, you don't need to be doing this from scratch every single time. The people who are winning with AI right now are the ones who have got it on some complicated system. They're the ones who have found 3 or 4 specific things it's saving them time on, built it into their workflow, and do it every day. Start there. What takes you an hour that it shouldn't? Start with that. And on the concerns about data, privacy, confidentiality, these things are real. Don't put sensitive client information in a public AI tool. Be thoughtful about what you're doing. But don't use these concerns as excuses to avoid the whole thing, because your competitors are. Now, if you've made it this far through the episode, thank you very much. Hopefully you're enjoying this solo episode. Please consider joining the community on Patreon so you get behind the scenes and exclusive content. Go to patreon.com/businessgrowthtalks. I want to finish with the things that don't get talked about enough, because I think they're just as important as everything else we've covered, maybe even more, because you learn the sales process. You get on top of your numbers, you build a hiring system. All of that is learnable, but the next stuff is harder because it's personal. How often do you have a conversation with someone genuinely understands what you're going through? Not a client, not a team member, somebody who's in it with you in the same way. And you can be completely honest with them about how things are going. In corporate, you had a team, you had a floor, you had people around you, you had informal conversations, the energy of being around other people who were working towards something. A lot of people who go out on their own underestimate how much this matters when it's all gone. Running a small business can genuinely be lonely, especially in the early stages if you don't build a community deliberately. Whether that's a peer group, a mastermind, finding other founders you can be honest with, you will feel it. Don't white knuckle through it. Build the connections. It's not a nice to have, it's a business essential. How many decisions have you made today? Really, from the moment you opened your laptop, what to prioritize, how to respond to that email, whether to take that call, what to charge, how to handle the difficult conversation with a client. In corporate, decisions are shared. They are escalated. There was a process. There was a committee. There was sign off. In your business, every decision is yours. What to charge, who to hire, whether to take the client, how to respond to the compliance, whether to invest in a tool, what to say in that email. And they never stop from that moment you start that day to the moment you close your laptop. And they follow you into the evenings and weekends because business is always there. The antidote to decision fatigue is systems and principles. Decide in advance how you'll handle reoccurring situations. Build the framework once so you don't have to make the same decision from scratch every time. The goal is to get yourself out of the decision that doesn't need to be you personally. Save your best thinking for the things that matter. Have you ever had that moment? Usually when you're about to send a proposal or you're on your way to a big meeting where the little voice says, "Who do you think you are? What if they find out you don't know what you're doing?" If you have this, you're in good company. I've spoken to people who are directors, VPs, MDs in their corporate career, and then they felt like a fraud in the first year of their own business because the safety net is gone. The structure is gone. Every success and every failure is yours. Now the title is gone, the brand is gone, you're starting again, and in a sense, under your own name. And imposter syndrome hits differently when there's nothing to hide behind. And I think the honest thing to say about this is it's normal. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means that you're doing something new, something that stretches you, something that has real stakes. The people who push through, it doesn't mean that you're eliminating that feeling. They do it by taking the next action anyway. Feel it and do it anyway. Look, I'm bringing this all together. If you've made the leap from corporate and you're thinking about it, I want you to hear this clearly. Your expertise is real. Your experience is valuable. The clients you're going to serve are lucky to have someone like you with your background in their corner. But expertise is not the same as knowing how to run a business. And the sooner you're honest about the gap, the sooner you can close it. The sales system, the financial literacy, the hiring process, the way you onboard and retain people, the AI tools that free up your time, the community that stops you from doing it alone. None of it is complicated. All of it is learnable, but you have to decide and learn it rather than hoping it all figures it all out. So here's the question I want to leave you with. What's the one thing from today's episode that you know, if you're honest with yourself, you've been avoiding? What's the thing that you need to fix this week? Because the business you're building, it deserves a proper foundation, not just an expertise sitting on thin air. Build it properly. I've talked about a lot of things today, and I think they are all relevant from me leaving a corporate career and going in and starting a small business. It's been a huge learning curve, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I love my lifestyle. I love my business, and you should do that too. But these things that I've talked to you about are the things that you need to be honest with yourself. Do you actually know? Look, that's it for today. If you've taken something from this episode, then do consider subscribing wherever you listen or watch. It genuinely helps me reach more people. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like button, drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway. If you're on Spotify or Apple, hit a 5-star. It only takes 30 seconds or so. And if you know someone who you think needs to hear this, share it with them today. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Have a great day, and on to the next one.